It is time now for Kara's Curious. Do you ever just sit around and wonder, what will you do someday? Oh, someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to do this. But you're struggling to find the time and a way to really do it and kickstart a plan?
Yes, I have actually.
We talk about this a lot. Like, we got to schedule it or it doesn't get done, right? Well, Connecticut author Matthew Dix is here, and he's telling us ways to turn random minutes into pockets of productivity.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, we're going to talk about his book, but I want to let you know that you wear a lot of hats, right? You are an author, an elementary school teacher, storyteller, consultant, speaking coach, minister, wedding DJ, father, cat owner, husband, poker player, and golfer.
Bad golfer.
Bad
Yes.
golfer. So how do you find the time to fit it all in? I guess that's really the premise of your book.
It is. I think that what happens in life so often is we have pockets of time. My wife calls them black holes. And she says, I managed to fill those black holes. I recognize that you don't need 30 minutes to accomplish something, that 11 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes can actually be meaningful if you have something to do during them and you make that time useful. So that's what I seek to do.
You know, it's interesting because in this business, we work in minutes and seconds.
Right.
And so I have learned in my to-do list sometimes, you know, I do that. I think I think most people think 5 minutes is not enough to do anything. And in our world, that's like half of a news block.
Exactly.
So 5 minutes, I'm like, I can make 2 phone calls and start something. So,
And pack a lunch.
Right, yeah.
so we think in minutes, and that's what you want other people to do. Although sometimes I procrastinate, and that's a big problem. But.
Right, yeah. I encourage people to make a list of all the things you can do in 5 or 10 minutes. Because I think what happens often is we find ourselves with 5 minutes, and then the easiest thing to do is to take out your phone and doom scroll through some social media app that doesn't really make you feel better.
And before you know it, 45 minutes have gone by.
Right, yeah. And even completing a task halfway is a beautiful thing. So if I can fold some of my daughter's clothes before we go out the door, then I can fold the rest later and save time. But I think most people see that as a do it all or don't do it. And I segment everything. I believe in incrementalism. Small steps along the way yield results.
It would be great if you could talk to my husband and get him to fold some laundry. But someday is really a word that you have a love-hate relationship with, the word someday.
I do. I hate it because it's a trap. I think most people say to themselves, someday I'm going to do something. And then inevitably what happens is they either reach the point where it's now impossible, or frankly, they keep thinking someday until the day they die. I think that lots of people sort of look back on their lives when they're near the end and think about all the things they wanted to do. And they really believed at the time that there would be a day to do it. But someday is just a trap. It convinces you that there'll be a tomorrow. And eventually, we run out of tomorrow. So we have to do it now.
So the step one, let's say people want to write a book. You've written several.
Yes.
So you want to take a big project and you really want to do it, but you keep saying someday when the kids are at college, or someday when my work isn't as busy. That someday is not going to come, right? So what do you do to get started?
Yeah, it's never going to come. It is literally today. And whether that means you're writing 3 sentences or you're writing 300 sentences in a day, every step you take gets you closer to the finish. I always like to remind people, especially the ones who want to write books, there were soldiers during World War I in trenches wearing gas masks with artillery exploding over their heads, writing books on little notebooks, hoping to publish them if they survive that battle. So when someone tells me, well, I can only write in a 1-hour increment, or I need a Starbucks, or I need a latte, I say, well, that's really nice for you. But it's not true, right? Really, you can take 5 minutes and write 3 sentences. And if you do that over the course of 2 years, you'll actually have a book. I don't know how good it will be, but you'll have a book. And that'll be better than what most people do, because most people say they will write a book, but never do.
Yeah.
Right.
I've interviewed a lot of best-selling. One, Gabrielle Bernstein told me she has a rule for herself. She writes 500 words a day, no matter what. And that's not a lot. I mean, we write way more than that just on a story. So just writing something is going to help you.
Yeah.
What about, like, you say we need to eliminate time-sucking people and activities. I think sometimes you think everything's necessary, but it's not.
Right. Oftentimes we fill our lives with things that we suddenly think are essential, when if we just stop doing them, it turns out no one cares about them at all. My favorite one is, as a teacher, I watch my colleagues put these borders around the bulletin boards, and they match the border of the bulletin board with the curriculum they're teaching. Where if you ask the students what's the border around the bulletin board without looking, they could never tell you what the border is.
Interesting.
And if you go into a business, you never see borders around a bulletin board in any other place but a classroom. Somewhere along the way, a teacher put a border up around a bulletin board, and they all decided we have to have borders on our bulletin boards. And I watch teachers just spend enormous amounts of time making these beautiful things when I think their time could probably be better spent elsewhere. But they have to let go of that. They have to acknowledge that we're doing things for reasons we're not really sure of, and they're not getting us anywhere. So reinvest your time into things that actually matter rather than things that other people are doing.
And don't let other people dissuade you from doing things, right? Like your family or friends.
Right. I mean, you do have to sort of like acknowledge the people in your life who are rotten. And
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and if you can eliminate them, that's great. I've eliminated people. There's a guy I used to play golf with. He was no fun playing, and so we stopped inviting him, and then he just faded away out of my life. Now, maybe it's your sister. You can't really eliminate her from your life, but you can create really strong boundaries around her and do things like acknowledge all the time, she's not nice to me, but she's not nice to me because she hates her job, or she's in a difficult marriage. When you can acknowledge that the intention is not there, that, you know, have some empathy for that person, you can feel a lot better about what's happening to you.
Yeah.
Well, we just spent a very productive pocket of time, but we could do a lot more, and they're going to have to read the book to do that, because you've got Time, Taking the Leap, Support, and the final is the why, right? Living the life. So you can learn more about Someday as Today, and also your other books at MatthewDix.com. So thank you so much, and congratulations to all the West Hartford students. Hopefully you're teaching them how to use their productivity.
I have a good feeling about it.
I'm
that's
doing
for
my
sure.
best. Thank you.